Let's be honest, midlife can feel like a lot. Shifting roles, changing bodies, aging parents, and sometimes you just need a safe space to talk it all through. That's where therapy comes in. It's not a sign of weakness. It's an investment in your well-being. And with BetterHelp, getting started is easier than ever. BetterHelp is entirely online, so it works with your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire and get matched with a licensed therapist in as little as 48 hours. And if it's not the right fit, you can switch. No awkward breakup required. Give yourself permission to feel better. Visit betterhelp.com/asking for a friend to get 10% off your first month of therapy. That's betterhelp.com/asking for a friend. Health, wellness, fitness, and everything in between. We're removing the taboo from what really matters in midlife. I'm your host, Michelle Folan, and this is Asking for a Friend. Ladies, let's talk about something that's everywhere in midlife. Wine nights, happy hours, mommy juice, and the idea that we need a glass of something strong to unwind, fit in, or take the edge off. But what if we've been sold a lie? More women than ever are rethinking their relationship with alcohol, not because they hit rock bottom, but because they want to feel better. Energy, sleep, mental clarity, skin. Alcohol impacts all of it. And midlife is when we start noticing those effects big time. Meanwhile, the non-alcoholic beverage industry is booming, offering more choices than ever for those who want to cut back or go all in on sobriety. My guest today, Kim Bellis, founder of Sober is the New Cool, never expected to give up alcohol. But when her son was diagnosed with epilepsy and could no longer drink, she made a life-changing decision to quit drinking in solidarity with him. What started as a personal choice became a movement, helping thousands of people redefine what it means to be social, confident, and cool without alcohol. Kim Bellis, welcome to Asking for a Friend.
Oh, thank you so much. I love everything you do. You're so much about wellness, and I think the women are just so lucky to have you to look up to and be inspired, because it's truly magnificent.
Oh, Kim, I would say the exact same thing about you, and those are very kind words. Thank you. I just love everything you're doing. I want you, first of all, to tell the audience who you are, where you're from, like where you grew up, and then your family details.
So my name is Kim Bellis. I grew up in Montreal, Canada. I had, pretty perfect life looking in, the white picket fence, everything was good. Childhood was good. It was just basically, but I was born in 1961, so I'm 64 years old. So start with that. So back then it was quite, common that everybody was just, very neighborly and everything was, just kind of status quo. But saying that, nobody really talked about problems or family issues.
Oh, no.
Right?
You're correct. Yeah. And I will say this, Kim, we grew up in a really great time.
Yes, we did.
Yeah. But you're right about people just didn't talk about stuff.
Yeah. And, I think the time when we grew up, we weren't fearful of each other. We were very open. We were very open to one another. We were helpful. I don't know, the doors were unlocked. People were running in and out of each other's homes and neighborhoods. There was none of this, problems that we have today,
Yeah. And then how did you land in New York?
No, actually, I'm still in Montreal right now.
Oh, you are?
Yes, most of my events are actually done there, because I just found that the women who came into my life in the last 12 years were from the UK. That was my main gang first. And then it was the United States and Canada. I mean, I live here, but we are far behind in the wellness industry. We're just starting to catch up, I think.
Okay. So interesting. And yeah, so I immediately thought, because you're in New York all the time, I
Yeah.
thought you were living there, but you're not.
No,
And
no, no, no.
we even talked before we recorded, and I never made that connection. So fascinating.
Yeah.
So you find with your organization that you get a lot of support in that area.
Well, no, I think that New York has just become like a hub where whenever I do an event, someone from California will come, someone from Minnesota comes, someone from Kansas comes. It kind of seems, one, everybody loves New York. Everybody wants to go to New York. So it's the perfect time for people to meet up.
Yeah. That's awesome. And we'll dive into your events here in a second, but I do want you to take us back. Your son was diagnosed with epilepsy. How did that change everything for your family?
Well, in 2013, he was playing football 5 nights a week. He was, and great at it. And that was his passion and his love. And, so from one day to the next, he had a seizure. And automatically, the coaches, everybody just thought, oh, this is football related, right? Because he was a big guy. He was, the hitting back and forth. And, we went back and forth the first little while with, oh, it was just a concussion. He can still play football. And unfortunately, as time progressed, we realized in the beginning of 2013 that football would not be an option. Sports would not be an option. And our lives just turned upside down. We went from, being outside every night of the week almost, and him being social, to me being afraid for him to drive a bicycle because we never knew when the next seizure would come. And so therefore, all of a sudden we had all these different options, and medication became the only option that would work for him. And therefore, alcohol would never be part of his life.
Yeah. So did he have more recurring seizures?
Oh, yes. We ended up in the ambulance a few times because, as you know, boys will be boys. And, I remember actually at the hospital, one of the doctors saying, well, you could have one or two drinks. I don't know any teenager that would have one or two and stop. So we went down that road a few times. And finally, we got the right medication. We were like, about 3-4 months in, no seizures, because the first year we had probably 11 seizures.
Okay.
And so finally after that, we kind of got settled, and I said, okay, you've got to get out. You've got to go back and see your friends, and we've got to start living again somehow. And he'd call me after about half an hour, 40 minutes that he'd been out, and say, Mom, pick me up. And I'd pick him up. And the third time I said, okay, what's going on here? This is crazy, Matthew. And he said, Mom, everybody drinks or smokes pot. I just don't fit in. And I'm sitting there going, oh, come on. You don't need alcohol or drugs to have fun. And as I said it, I had the biggest glass of red wine in my hand. And it was like a truck hit me. And I remember to this day how much I felt like such a huge hypocrite. And at that minute, I just thought, okay, I'm going to stop for 3 months. I'm going to prove a point, as moms do, and say, you know what? Look, see, I'm right. I can do it. I can still be fun without it. And it is 12 years later. I've never had another drink.
That's amazing. I have to ask you, though.
Yes.
What was your relationship with alcohol prior to this conversation with Matthew?
Well, listen, I drank wine every single night, and now I realize, looking back, way too much. And this, you have to remember, I was 52 years old. I had just finished menopause because I had menopause early on. But, the sleeping was not great, lack of energy, gaining weight, all that stuff was kind of mixed in the bag there. And alcohol obviously didn't help me. And as soon as I stopped for him, because I loved him more than I loved myself, I really realized the energy I had. I was open to more things. I was more positive. I was starting to exercise more. I was eating better. And it just was, and then sober's the new cool kind of got started, my sister made a logo. I made a trademark. Don't ask me why. He didn't want to talk about epilepsy. He didn't want to be the one that said he couldn't drink. And the first year when I did stop, everywhere I went, people would say, "Oh, you never had a problem. Just come here, have a drink with me. We won't tell." And I thought, wow, I'm 52. If people are saying that to me and I'm saying, no, I made a promise to my son, how's he going to manage? It's just everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess we made a Facebook page, didn't know what we were doing, and it just took off. It just took off.
Yeah. So when did you realize that sober is the new cool would be bigger than just your personal journey?
I think early on, it was just kind of like I started getting these messages. Some mothers with kids with epilepsy, how did I navigate that? And, social surroundings. And then just moms in general saying, well, did you drink after homework time? I said, yeah, God, did I ever? Like, that was like, oh, thank God, homework's over, right? And cooking when I'd start dinner,
That's the big one.
right? And it was just, I think for me, it was a habit, but looking back 12 years now, I just don't want to even have a sip because I never want to go back to that. I just don't.
Yeah. You feel that good.
Yes.
Yeah.
I feel great. I think the sobriety was just the tip of the iceberg. I mean, I've done things that never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined. The people who I've met around the world, the women that are so incredible and are helping save other people's children, even though they've lost a child of their own. I mean, it's just what this has brought for me, helping others. I just seem to be at the right place at the right time. And there's something so much bigger than me, because every time I want to give up and think, okay, I'm not doing enough. I'm not accomplishing enough. Something happens and whoops, I get back on the train and I'm okay, let's try this again. And,
You listen to the podcast. You might even see my reels on Instagram. Perhaps you've even clicked a link or two, but you still haven't made a move. You're still waiting for the right time to start. But here's the truth. There's no perfect time, but there is today. And if you're feeling stuck, low on energy, and like your body isn't responding the way it used to, you are not alone. That's why I coach women through Faster Way. We start with the basics, fueling your body with real food, building strength, and finally learning how to support your metabolism instead of fighting it. No extremes, no restriction, just a smarter, proven approach for women over 50. If you're even a little curious, click the link in the show notes or shoot me an email. I'm happy to chat with no pressure. But maybe it's time to stop watching and start doing. Let's do this together. So, Kim, many midlife women struggle with wine culture. We talked about having a glass when you're cooking dinner, homework's finished, and you want to have a glass of wine to relax. But it's also very ingrained in socializing. And oftentimes it's kind of like pictured as self-care.
Yes.
Have a glass of wine and relax. How do we start shifting that mindset?
I think for me anyways, especially now, I find a lot of the young women are into yoga. And after yoga, instead of going for tea, they seem to go for wine.
Mm-hmm.
And so they've asked me this question, and I don't really know what the answer is, because it's everywhere. So for me, it was easiest to be open and honest about, no, I just don't drink. Whether they were having wine or not. And I guess I used my son as an excuse and he used me as an excuse to get through those moments. And once I got tired of that, I just decided to own it. I love the way I feel. I want to make memories. I want to remember every conversation. I want to go home going, what an evening, right? As opposed to that, oh, what part kind of, sometimes.
What did I say?
Or I don't even know it's what did I say or it's how did I say it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that was the biggest thing for me. So now I'm very open and honest everywhere I go is just, no, I don't drink. Because at first I used to say, no, thank you. Oh, you don't want white wine. Okay, do you want red? No, thank you. So I was doing the no thank yous as opposed to, no, I don't drink. But I do ask always for a club soda or a Perrier or San Pellegrino in a wine glass. Because I want to feel too that I'm part of. And I think once you do that, nobody really knows what's in your glass and nobody really cares.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you there. And the festive glass
Yes.
is such a key thing.
Yeah.
I can have a can of Spindrift and maybe throw just a little splash of cranberry juice in there and a lime, and it looks pretty in the glass, and I don't feel like I'm missing out. And then I'm hydrated too, which is even better. What are some of the biggest myths about sobriety that you think hold people back from giving it a try?
I think people think they're going to miss out on something, that they become boring. Well, let me tell you this. That is the least thing that's going to happen in your world, because since I've stopped drinking, I've walked in Fashion Week at 62 years of age. I've met people from all over the world. I am able to communicate in a way that I was never able to communicate before, because I was shy before. And I think that when I did do events or did, things for cancer parties to raise money and stuff, I'd always have that wine because everything had to be perfect and everything had to be, and I was so uptight. And it's so much better without it for me now,
Yeah. And I think women often feel that pressure.
Yes.
To drink at social events, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you were talking about, some of those ways that you say no without feeling awkward or left out. And I think just building some strategy around that, The other thing is, I think it's going in with a plan.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? So you kind of, as you're getting ready to go out, you already have in your mind what you kind of play it forward, like what you're going to ask for to drink and what that looks like. And I think that makes you a little bit more accountable to sticking to your strategy.
And I think if I'm going to people's homes, many times, my husband still drinks wine, so we'll bring wine or whatever, but I bring things for me, whether it's San Pellegrino, whether it's a non-alcoholic wine or a bubbly. There are so many options now for people. So I bring my own, because that way I know I've got my backup plan already set.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite? Do you have a favorite brand or anything that you want to share?
I do. I have two right now, because I loved rosé. And I loved champagne. So there's Prima Pave from Italy. And they distribute everything out of California. Their rosé people have had it at my home and can't tell the difference.
Really? Is it a sparkling rosé?
Sparkling. And it is phenomenal. And there's another one, Einstein Dry, which they have a rosé. It's not a champagne though. It's just a sparkling rosé. And that also is absolutely phenomenal. So, I do try to do it on special occasions and not always, because there is a sugar content, which, we all try to. You are the queen of that, of how to avoid that, right?
Yeah, we'll have to put those suggestions in the show notes. So remind me to do that when we get off the call here. So besides just feeling better, were there any other unexpected benefits that you experienced after quitting alcohol?
Well, I never expected any of this to happen. I never expected to meet people all over the world. I never expected, like, for example, I have two beautiful sons. I never had any daughters, always wanted to. I was fortunate enough to meet a young lady by the name of Natty from London, England. And she's been in my life for the last 8 years. Unfortunately, she lost her life last year in March. But out of 8 billion people in this world, she asked me to do a matching tattoo, which is the infinity sign with a white heart and a pink heart. So we did a WhatsApp, her in London, England, me in Montreal, Canada. We did a matching tattoo. We spoke to each other every day. She spoke with my family, with my kids, with my mother. She really became part of our lives, and I wouldn't trade a minute of, and unfortunately, part of our world, with mental health and addiction, we do lose people. But she was a gift, and I truly believe she's my angel in heaven that keeps me going every single day. And, she brought so much to my life. She really did. She was like, she sparkled like nobody else. And, with her, I think that just opened me up. I guess because of my age, people didn't see me as their mother. They saw me more as a friend, so I could be completely honest with them, and they wouldn't get quite so mad at me when I would. But I think I was the safe place for these people to fall, and still am. And I think that has given me more than I give to them.
Oh, first of all, I'm so very sorry for your loss. It had to be incredibly difficult, but I do believe that she is up there cheering you on. Yeah. And, I would love to know, an inspiring transformation that you've seen with someone that you've been connected.
Oh my God. There are so many. I have one woman who 5 years ago contacted me right around Christmas time. And I do sell merchandise, but that is not a moneymaker. That's just for people to wear as a sign of, pride. And so this woman reaches out to me and asks me, can you send me a t-shirt? I said, sure. Some women like for me to post about them and tell their story. Others don't. She sent me a picture and she said, please don't post. I said, okay, no problem. That was it. Christmas Eve that year, somehow 4:30, I looked at my phone and there's a message from her saying, my grandkids just came in and said they want you to post my picture because I'm wearing Sober is the New Cool t-shirt on Christmas Eve because they said they got their grandmother back. She stopped drinking at 80 years old. She is 85 now, and she's 5 years. So
I'm crying.
And that, I cannot make up the stuff of the people that I have met, that their lives have not only transformed mine, but like one woman from South Africa contacted me about her son. And I said, oh, wow, I said, I don't think I know anybody. And then I thought, oh, yes, there's a young man that I met I don't know how far he is. Let me text him while I'm talking to you. And sure enough, it took 3 tries, but her son now is sober with the help of this other young man. I'm in Canada. They're in South Africa. To me, I think it's the power of one that's really made me realize that for some reason, I'm able to find something for somebody else, and then they find it for somebody else. And it's just become this wave of people helping one another and being there for one another. And I think that that's the most important thing out of all this, that nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. So do not worry. It's like a diet. It's like no matter what else you're doing in your life, just come on back. There's no judgment, because I've not walked in your shoes. So how can I judge you, right?
Right. But you're building this international community. It's the support is really amazing, but I have to give you a ton of credit in this, because you are the most nurturing, caring, genuine person. So you are the connector.
Yes.
Of this community, and you bring that empathy to the table that people are looking for. Just like you said, we're all human. We make mistakes. So what do you say to someone who feels like they failed because they drank after trying to quit?
Sometimes I listen more than I say anything, a lot of the times. because I think that there's so much sadness, and almost everyone who I've met along this journey, whether they've lost a child or they've suffered, it all has to stem from mental health. And I think it's a lack of, like myself, not feeling good enough, not feeling like I should have been this, I should have done that. And that's where I think that I start with trying to do this I am exercise with them, where I send one positive word in the morning after I am and one at the evening. Because I think if you get up to a positive word and you end your day looking at something, because I think we forget all the qualities we have. And I think that's where it has to start to rebuild that way for people to know that, hey, you know what? I'm artistic, or I'm sporty, or, we have this conception of what being successful is, when in reality, all the things I thought I should have been in my life, no, this is who I am. And I don't want anybody to wait till they're 64 to realize they're good enough just who they are right now.
Yeah.
So that's where I start to try and build them up, find people in their community, or because AA is not for everybody, but to me, the more things that people can try and do to set themselves up for success, exercise, eating right. There's books, there's podcasts, and it's not just about sobriety. For me, it's about wellness. That's really my goal here.
Yeah. Just overall wellness.
Yes.
How has this journey changed your relationship with your family and friends?
Oh my God. Well, I think I'm lucky in the way that I wasn't one of those people that had lost a lot of people in my life because I stopped drinking, because some people do. And that I think is unfortunate. But then I think that's where you realize who your friends are and who your friends aren't.
Certainly.
Right? This has given me a sense of purpose. My kids and I think the biggest thing it's brought them is that they know when I say I'm going to do something, I mean it. Because I said I would stop drinking for 3 months, and I did it, and I carried on. And they're extremely proud of what happened at a kitchen island. Somebody at 52 that knew nothing about the internet or Facebook or Instagram, and to have created something where people, our international recovery walk, this year, we had 30 countries walking virtually with us. So we are creating something where it doesn't matter where you are in the world, because I think the most important thing is connection. And as long as you find people to help you grow and you can help them, I think. And my kids really love what I do. They loved my Natty. She was like a sister to them. And, they love the fact that I really stuck to what I said I was going to do. And I keep going and I keep trying. And I'm a one-woman show, and it's been hard. It still is.
Yeah.
But I keep going somehow. So I think for them, and especially my son Matthew, I think it made him realize just about anything is possible.
Absolutely. And you have this international walk.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit more about some of the other Sober is the New Cool events that you do.
So the first one is the International Walk, which our government has recognized as International Recovery Day in September. So the rest of the world can walk with us, no matter where they are, which is fantastic. We have the White Party that's in New York City. This year it will be May 16th, and women come from all over. This year we have, I don't know how many different states in the United States that women are coming from. And we meet, and it's a white party, and basically means everybody just wears white. And it's incredible because everyone tells their story, but it's a safe place. And it's like everyone's talking about the sunshine when they're talking about mental health or their addiction or the problems they've had. And it's just the connections and the friendships that are made. And we have women from 20 years of age up to 75, it's, And this year, we're really lucky. We have some great, great sponsors. We have Peace and Love Jewelry by Nancy Davis. She's an incredible woman that lost her son We have Prima Pave that's going to send something. We have a woman I can't tell all the little secrets because the gift bag is just so incredible. They're going to be so spoiled this year, which is
How fun.
the women are, it really is. The gift bag they're going to get is really incredible. The following day, we will take a walk, weather permitting, but we take a walk in Central Park. And there's this one woman in New York that is in recovery, and she now has famous cookie stores all over New York. And she was features on Shark Tank, but she came from living underneath a bridge. So we are going to go meet her as part of we're going to go to another place called Big Vision in New York to see their new center that they've opened. Because I think that's part of it, because we never know who knows who or who needs what. So I just try and and so the 2-day event is kind of just a safe place for people to share.
Mm-hmm.
And then our walk, and then the rest of it is just, whatever. I do Fashion Week. I'm asked to walk in Fashion Week with someone called Alexandra Neiman, she's a Hello Lady Cat, which is part of the Sober Curator. They do a fashion show that is inclusive to all, which means if you're 64 and not 100 pounds, if you are whatever gender, doesn't matter. If you are tall, if you are small, if you are slim, if you're not different, it's just different nationalities, different ways. And it's a beautiful way to show the fashion industry that you don't need drugs and alcohol to have fun. They're trying to pass a law there called Daniel's Law for mental health. Basically, you know what? All these things I do, I don't seem to say no to much. And
but you have the energy, and that's the beautiful thing is you're this, energetic, stunning 64-year-old woman that still has stuff to do, right?
Oh God, yeah. And I think the most important thing I'm trying to get across now is I've got lots of energy, but I need others to come on board and take over because, that's where the younger generation, it's kind of like when I don't know if you remember, but for me, drinking and driving, was not so long ago people did it. And now the kids don't. They take Ubers, they take taxis, and I think we're, which is good for everybody. Nobody should be drinking and driving. No. So I think that the shift is happening and the wellness shift for mental health and everything else and being there for one another and caring for one another, I think has to come back. And I think this is part of it.
Yeah, it's such a great story. If someone listening right now is sober curious, but not 100% ready to commit, what small step would you say they should take today?
Well, a lot of people do like sober January, dry July, sober October. A lot of people start on something like that. Or they decide it's kind of like what you're showing people how to eat well and whatever. And it can incorporate taking out the alcohol part of it just for that part, just to get, weight off or whatever and see how they feel, see how they're sleeping, see how their energy is and go from there. And I think that it's one day at a time. You don't have to look at it and say, I'm never going to drink again. I never thought that was going to be me. And I can never say never. I just know that it's 12 years later and I'm at a better place than I was then. And I want to keep getting better as opposed to not.
Right. Yeah. So inspiring. So how can we better support loved ones who are trying to cut back or quit drinking?
Well, that's, I know that there's a lot of people that say tough love. I'm not a huge advocate for that because I do understand that the first drink is their choice, but after that, it's not. So there's a very fine line. And I think that sometimes we have to sit in silence and not give too much advice and just try and listen. And I really think if people just took a few minutes to realize that there's something bigger than the drinking that's there. There's a sadness. There's something where people feel they need to get filled. There's something lacking in them. And I think if we just kind of step back and just try not to be judgmental, and it's hard, especially when, you get frustrated and you think, why can't you just do this? Well, I met some people that have said, tell people to put their phone away for a week. Let's see how well they do. Because it's the same kind of thing. And it's hard. And just because it doesn't work the first time, please never give up, because there's always hope. There's always hope. I've seen people that I never thought, or they never thought, would be able to make it. And whether they found God, or whether they found exercise, or whether they found something, they have found it. So we just keep trying until we get it right.
Yeah. And it's, we have more data now on the health effects, long-term cancers, all of that. So aside from the aesthetic reasons to give up alcohol, our weight, our skin,
yes,
sleep, which reflects in everything we do, I think for those reasons alone, it's been pretty motivating for people like me to say, okay, and I told you this when we first talked. I said, I still have an occasional cocktail, but it's, I don't do the, half a bottle of wine every night any longer. And, it's been life-changing. It really has.
And I think that's like the first step, right? Is just because you just try it and you see, right? You just try and see.
Yeah, you do. And then I would love to know, just from a personal perspective, what is one of your important self-care non-negotiables?
Okay. I think the biggest thing is negativity. Oh. I do not like to surround myself with anyone that's negative. And by that, I don't mean somebody that's drank again or had a slip with alcohol or drugs. That's not what I mean. I mean someone that always sees the negative part instead of saying, okay, how do we move forward? That to me is imperative in my life. I need to surround myself with people that see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. That's really nice. And I can tell that would be important to you, because I love your inspiring posts on Instagram. They just really make you feel so good. Your message is always one of love and hope. And I have to think that keeps people buoyed in your community. Where can people find you and learn more about Sober is the New Cool?
So we have a website, soberisthenewcool.ca. And the best place actually is Instagram. We have, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, but basically Instagram is the best place. I will get back to you very soon. I do a pretty good job of catching up and making sure everybody, and I'm lucky I have women around the world that call themselves Sober is the New Cool ambassadors now, where, the main concern is their kindness and helping others. And whether it's going for a coffee, go for a walk, do, an exercise challenge, whatever it is, because a lot of them do that. And we send out these little white hearts. That's part of the White Heart Initiative. So people know that they are seen, heard, loved, and never judged.
Yeah. Great message. Kim Bellis, this was so nice to see you again, and thank you for being a guest today on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. Please rate and review the show where you listen to the podcast. And did you know that Asking for a Friend is available now to listen on YouTube? You can subscribe to the podcast there as well. Your support is appreciated, and it helps others find the show. Thank you.